Episode 13.
Lucky number 13.
Lucky number 13 or unlucky. Lucky
I guess she's coming to breakfast.
Yeah.
I guess so then unlucky or lucky really depends on whose vantage point you're looking at.
Yeah, it depends on who woke up with company. Mark did. Frasier did not.
Thanks for sticking around this long.
Yes. Thank you, listener.
We love it.
Yes, we love you guys.
All right. Shall we kick things off?
Sounds good. Frasier's doing his show and he takes a call from Ethan, who's 13 and having trouble at school. Frasier doles out his advice, which Ethan is unimpressed with. Do you think Frasier gives good advice here?
No. In this case, I think Frasier in a way is like weirdly like ego threatened by a 13-year-old kid. Like first off, like I mean, like let's set aside the whole like ethical, professional like faux pas that he did by basically advocating for Ethan's bullies to go get him.
Yeah, he doxed him.
Yeah. But I also want to point out that our guy Ethan is voiced by guest cameo Elijah Wood, and how could you
Yeah.
like that?
Oh, that is so perfect. Elijah Wood, my childhood crush.
Yeah, so I take this personally that Frasier went after him. No, but also I mean like yes, I get it. Like Frasier doesn't really like being told that his words are pedantic by a 13-year-old with a high IQ, but you know, as a professional in the psychiatric profession, like I really think he should rise above that occasion. So I think Frasier did our poor Frodo dirty here.
He did.
So that said, I do think it's funny that you know, this kid is 13 and he's talking about how he knows he has 160 IQ. Because I think that might be the source of some of his problems. Bragging about your IQ is really
never a good way to make friends.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, like as soon as you put that number out there, you're putting yourself in a different category than other kids, and you know, basically in so many words, you're calling them dumb. So
yeah, it's kind of like bragging about like your entrance exam, your college entrance exam scores, or you know, it's never good.
It's not good. I mean, like, sure, does the kid deserve to get doxxed and beat up? Absolutely not. But you know, he's got some lessons to learn about maybe just, you know, choosing different things to talk about other than how smart you are.
Yeah. So Frasier ends his show and enters Ross's booth. She's distracted with putting on makeup. She's got a date with Noel Shemsky. This is our first appearance of Noel.
Yes, and I have comments, but first let's kick it off with Roz's vest. It was so cute on her. It kind of showed her little figure, and I love that. Kind of had like a Victorian romantic corset kind of look, and she just looked so pretty. I loved it. I was like, oh, Roz.
Simone, I live for your sartorial comments on these Frasier episodes because I noticed that too, but I didn't have the right phrasing for it, so thank you.
I'm actually in the process of creating a Frasier's 1990s fashion bingo card.
Ooh.
Because I did a research on like all of the 90s fashions, and I want to see how much of the 90s fashions Frasier does get. And I'm looking for scrunchies. I'm looking for, you know, denim. I'm looking for it all.
Yeah.
For it all.
So not to like, you know, commit you to something that you haven't signed up for, but there is an Instagram account called What Fran Wore that's like all of the fashion from the nanny. You could easily do like a What Frasier Wore kind of situation. I'm just putting that into the universe.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
I do have some other ideas I'm cooking up too. So stay tuned, listeners, and it does have to do with Frasier fashion. So
I love this. If you do that, I might create an Instagram account, even though I hate social media, just to follow you.
Thank you. But yes, going to Noel. Okay, so I couldn't get over how like I was like something's off here, and then as I as I was watching the show, I realized what it was. Because I said, Noel seems so less creepy in the first, like the first instance you meet him, you're like, oh, he's not creepy. But why is that I always remember him so creepy? But then as the episode goes on, he becomes more and more creepier and weirder. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh,
Oh yeah,
you
I mean,
bugger.
I think the terminology here is a stage 5 clinger.
Yeah, just creepy weird. Okay, that was it. I was just like, wow, this is Noel, but less creepier than I remember. And then I'm like, oh,
That's because it's his first
it's
appearance.
the first, it's the
Yeah.
first one out.
Oh yeah, but that said, I was actually like, I was excited about Roz's enthusiasm here because you know how she's usually so cynical.
Right.
I thought she genuinely was into this date. So you know, here we
And you
go.
know what?
Yeah.
Kudos to her because she listed good qualities that she was looking for. She even said, like, he's smart and he's substantial. I'm not quite sure what she meant, but I know what I mean by substantial. And I'm like, okay, I hope he is substantial. Um, and she just said, like he was just, just he had a good, track record. He's some good. So she really seems to be trying to put her best foot forward and not just focusing on looks. So
I know he's not great looking. I know he drives a 73 Dodge Polaris. But he's just always struck me as a really interesting guy.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the world is loaded with superficial guys. I just want to try going out with someone who has a good heart. He's smart. He's substantial. And, considering my track record lately, I would hope you'd support me. Is that asking too much?
Does Noel still have that autographed picture of Captain Kirk in his cubicle?
Right? No, good
Right.
for Roz.
Yeah, she says he's smart, he's substantial, and he has a good heart.
Hmm.
Or yeah, something like that. So okay,
Pretty good.
those are good
Let's see,
qualities.
you know,
Or
Yeah.
long that lasts.
Could you draw a parallel between Noel and Roz with Niles and Daphne? Because Noel sort of pines after Roz for the entirety of the show as well.
Oh, you know what though? Oh, there's a really clear contrast, and it's evidenced from this episode. Uh, Noel makes the move and asks Roz out right away. There's no
Yeah.
extended pining. It's just like, well, not at least not before he takes action. So I would say that Noel has more gumption.
yeah,
True.
I'll give him a point for that. I will give him a point for that. And
Granted, he's single, so
yeah, well, yeah, and I will
Yeah.
for confirming the date beforehand. I like that, so I will give you a point for that. That's a good
yeah,
one though.
yeah.
So far so good. I'm like, okay, where's the creepy part coming?
That comes with the spice rack.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Spice
We'll get there.
We'll get.
Well, Frasier's amused by this. He teases Roz. She says she's trying to date someone more substantial, and thought Frasier would be more supportive. Frasier points out that Noel has an autographed photo of Captain Kirk in his cubicle.
No judgment about that.
No.
Seriously, that is actually one of Noel's redeeming qualities is that he is a Trekkie. I honestly like if anything, like that's a point against Frasier.
You guys, okay. Can I just say this?
Frasier's being real judgmental here.
Okay, I have to make peace with this. This is a part of my dating history. I just need to make peace with this. So when I was in college, back in the 2000s, okay? Remember 2000s, I went on a date with a guy and he ended up being like a Noel. Like he invited me to his house for like a nice little get together, whatever. And he had like those figurines in the boxes, like all against the wall. And I just could not. I couldn't tolerate it. I was like, what is this? I couldn't. And so I kind of was like, that whole world of like comics and Captain Kirk and Star Trek and stuff. I just
Uh-oh. I have a confession.
Oh
So I've been to Comic-Con many times,
Oh.
and I have a Star Trek tattoo.
Oh, what?
Yes. So I have a tattoo of the Latin for the Starfleet Academy motto. Huge Trekkie.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so I don't do the action figure thing, mostly because I hate clutter, but I definitely I think Star Trek is a really excellent and like Just really,
Yeah.
really great. Like, well, I don't want to say series. I guess what would be one level higher than series? Like just high concept, franchise,
Mm.
Oh,
IP, whatever you want to call it. I love Star Trek very thoroughly. So Noel gets some points for being a Trekkie, and honestly, I actually would say, especially in the '90s, I think the fact that he pulls like the live long and prosper when he's leaving the recording booth to Frasier,
Mm.
that takes guts because he basically, I think he's at that point like outing himself as a major nerd to
Yeah.
Frasier,
yeah. Now,
who
see,
has
now
like some social cachet.
is a
Good
nerd
for Noel for
cute,
owning it.
but it's cute.
Yeah.
Like me back then when I was in my like 20s, like I couldn't appreciate it, but now I totally love nerdy guys. I think
Yeah.
nerdy guys are hot, they're
Oh
cute.
yeah.
I love it. I love it. But so I just want to make peace in the universe. Like I apologize to that guy that I
Also,
did.
early '90s. I mean, let's talk about other nerds in the Seattle area. Like you've got your Bill Gates types. I mean, like
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Noel's in
like
pretty decent
only
company here.
the
Yeah.
only nerd who cannot make it cute is Mark Zuckerberg. He cannot be cute. He can't be. It doesn't matter whether he's MMA, whether he has this new afro he's sporting. Like he just cannot be cute. That's
Yeah, I mean, like to continue the Star Trek references. Mark Zuckerberg looks like he's Data's child. Like there's something very gray about his skin tone.
there you go. All right, that's all I had to say about my romantic confessions. Okay.
There you go. But it's good. It's on topic for this episode because it's all about romance.
Yes.
Mm. That evening at Frasier's apartment, Daphne is cooking in the kitchen when Niles enters. He makes small talk with Daphne while attempting to sit on the counter. He fails and accidentally hits his head on the range hood before falling to the floor. Daphne immediately kneels down to help him, and Frasier enters. Seeing the position Niles and Daphne are in, he hauls Niles to his feet. Now, this is a great piece of physical acting by David Hyde
Yeah.
Pierce, I think.
Oh yeah, who would
Definitely.
a cat fall like that?
Yeah.
Yes. His double-breasted suit. He always put in a double-breasted suit.
Yeah, he's very stylish.
Yeah,
I
he
love
was
his
very
look.
stylish. Did you catch the title card, Boy in the Hood, which is a
Yeah.
nod? Okay, somebody in the writing room recently watched Boys in the Hood.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but okay, so continuing our discussion that we just had about Noel and like, how he is romantically, right?
Mhm.
Niles here, when he's, exchanging barbs with Frasier, and he basically references that he has a lawyer who's I don't know what he says, like his lawyer's like a shark or something. But I think that's really funny because it is very much in contrast to Noel, who owns that he's kind of a nerdy weirdo that's like chasing after the hot girl. Niles is like, I will sue you if you insinuate that. Like he's just so unable to
Yes.
be upfront about it. And I think it's funny. I mean, like it really, I didn't think about it while we were watching the episode, but now that we're having this conversation, I'm like, wow, what a contrast.
Yeah, and
Mm.
and I think women do like to be pursued. I think like, you want a guy who like confesses like, yeah, I like you, I'm into you, and like I want to make the effort, Just
Mhm.
don't get weird about it.
Yeah,
No.
and I have this theory that up until Midwinter Night's Dream, Daphne has some awareness that Niles has a crush on her, but then she
Oh,
later suppresses it because she does catch him like sniffing her hair, so she catches him sort of a couple of times, like
yes.
looking at her and stuff. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
after that episode, it sort of becomes like she just becomes fully oblivious. Where there's still, I still
Denial.
feel like, yeah, denial, denial.
Yeah. I think oblivious might not be the right word there just because like if she knew if like she's picked up on it. Like especially I mean
Yeah,
like come on, she's psychic, right? So she knows she's just telling herself it's not true.
yeah. Frasier drags Niles out to the dining area and asks him a favour. Frasier has a date Friday night and wants to know if Niles will take Martin out.
So, does this mean you're hoping to get lucky Friday night?
Oh, Niles, please, nobody refers to having sex as getting lucky anymore.
I do.
I mean, Niles is married to Maris.
I know. It is luck.
Yeah, really.
Martin enters and Frasier motions to Niles to get on with it. Niles asks Martin out by offering to take him to the new rib joint. Martin declines and Niles wavers, but Frasier prompts him to keep trying. Niles offers to have Martin over to his house for dinner instead. They'll even rent an Angie Dickinson movie. So I've got in my notes here, I've just got Maris at a rib joint.
I know. The other thing, it cracks me up how obvious he's being, like trying to get Martin on his side, because
Yeah.
not only is it a rib joint, but like isn't it like they give you your money back if the onion rings aren't as big as your head? Like neither Niles nor Maris would ever like go within the same block as a restaurant that had that kind of special. So it's funny.
I feel like it's the kind of outing that Maris would find some excuse to not go to, so it would just be Niles and Martin at the restaurant.
I mean, that onion ring might actually cause her like to break her wrist. So you know.
She would just start eating a rice cake or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like Niles, this is something that I think really is true throughout the series. Niles does this thing where, like, if he's trying to get someone to do something, he lays it on so thick. Like, it's such a tailored approach, and it's like it's comedically obvious when he wants a favor.
Definitely.
I noticed that when they're trying to butter Martin up for stuff, they mention Angie Dickinson movies a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't even really know who Angie Dickinson was.
She doesn't she call herself America's first supermodel or something like that? I feel like that's what she says. Or am I?
I don't know. That's Janice Dickinson. She was on America's Next Top Model. Slightly different. Angie Dickinson was like kind of like old Hollywood. Like I think she was like in like the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
So if she was America's first supermodel, she definitely predates Janice.
Okay, I of Janice Dickinson, you're right, because I watched that show with Tyra Banks, America's Top.
Nope, that's exactly what you're thinking of. No, Angie Dickinson is most known for being like on again, off again with Frank Sinatra.
Okay.
So, which makes so much sense given Martin's tastes. So
yeah, that does make sense. It all comes together.
I'm reading about that now, actually. I first thought I'd look up Angie Dickinson because I hear her a lot, but I actually don't know who she is.
But it would be really funny if Janice Dickinson was on Frasier. From reality competition show to highbrow sitcom, that would just be really hilarious.
Yeah.
So Martin senses something's up and correctly guesses that Frasier has a date. Frasier apologizes for not asking Martin himself. Martin forgives him, but points out that one hand washes the other. He'll clear out Friday night, but wants Frasier to clear out Thursday night. He's got a date himself.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad way to play that.
Yeah.
And also good on both of them for being, at least at this stage in the episode, a lot more chill about, Martin getting into the dating pool, because earlier in this season that was a dramatic sort of thing.
Yes, we saw with the telescope, where kind of like he was a little apprehensive.
Yeah.
Oh, it seems like
that is clearly faded out into the background because
Mhm.
he's back in the game.
Yeah, or back on the beat, as Frasier. Oh goodness.
I like how he calls Niles out for having a smirk on his face without even looking at him.
Well, as long as I'm clearing out for you Friday night, you can clear out for me Thursday night. I got a date with Elaine Morris in 1412.
Oh, well. How long has this been going on?
Oh, she's had me over for coffee a couple of times. I just thought I'd like to have her over here for dinner. Niles, wipe that stupid smirk off your face.
Amazing.
Frasier agrees and suggests some board games that they could play, and Niles suggests a documentary on the swing bands of the 40s. Martin thanks him sarcastically. Just suggesting some old people hobbies for them to do.
Right. Like, why not make a puzzle while you're at it?
Yeah.
Go watch the Murder, She Wrote.
Is this the kind of date Frasier's going to have?
Oh, God, I hope not.
Friday morning, Daphne's in the kitchen making breakfast. Frasier enters in his robe. He's wearing that robe again.
But I put in my notes. I said it's growing on me, and
Is
I said
it?
it is. But I think the reason why is
Because
because
Niles called dibs.
I think it's because in the kitchen scene, it looks very nice with there's like blue, the plates are blue and some of the chinaware is blue and it kind of has like a nice little accent color. So I'm like, okay, it's kind of growing
Like
on me.
situational matching.
Yeah, it's situational.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's because a couple episodes ago, Niles put a sticky note on it and called dibs.
It's value. Here's the beginning of a wonderful, wonderful comedic scene. I love this scene.
Frasier notices breakfast, and Daphne informs him they're having a traditional English breakfast. Eggs, bangers, also known as sausages, and Grammy Moon sticky buns to finish.
Is that traditional breakfast?
Where are the beans though? Aren't beans
Yeah, I
part
was
of
gonna say,
the? Oh well, I mean, like clearly those don't set up for as good of a joke, but
I feel
Yeah.
like
just saying.
it's more wet than what she says. Like it's more like stuff is on there.
Yeah, but I mean,
Beans and a tomato.
exactly. But if we didn't have the bangers, it would not make for
Nope, it would not.
as good of comedy.
Bangers and hot buns.
Oh yes.
Martin enters, and Frasier takes great delight in asking how Martin's date went last night when Martin's date, Elaine, enters.
Amazing.
Martin introduces her, and Frasier is suddenly flustered. He makes an awkward comment, and Elaine goes to excuse herself, but Martin asks her to stay for breakfast. I don't blame her for being sort of nervous. Like, she's just basically spent the night with this guy, and the very next morning she's meeting his family in the kitchen for breakfast.
Oh yeah. And like, let's not forget, she lives in the building, so it's
Yeah.
it's not like she could just leave and never come back again and like never see them. Like she's their neighbor.
Yeah.
Well, I was just like, she should have known better because I'm sure this isn't her first go round with morning afters. Like, come on, you gotta slip out early, right?
Yep.
Especially since we know that Frasier sleeps in till fairly
Yeah.
late.
But you know what, Marty? I have a feeling Marty, he kind of maybe put the moves on her, like, stay, baby, stay, because she's probably like, oh, I gotta. Marty's a bit of a sweet talker. I can see it.
I can see it.
Yeah, well, he manages to talk her into staying for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
As well as that goes.
Unfortunately for her.
Yeah, so Elaine agrees to stay, and Frasier launches into increasingly awkward word vomit, culminating in offering Martin a sausage. Banger, Dad?
Oh man. Yeah. Word vomit is the exact right term for this.
At one point, he just, what is the matter with you?
I also wonder this honestly like and we'll get to it later when we get to our next caller on Frasier's show, but I would be so uncomfortable by this conversation, like I would just leave the table.
Mm-hmm. Melt into the floor.
Oh
yeah.
Exactly.
Elaine excuses herself and Martin sees her to the door. Frasier blames Daphne for not serving bacon.
The jokes would have been worse. Because I'm pretty sure the Brits call bacon rashers. Like, there's no way there's no way that those jokes would have made for okay dialogue.
Martin returns and Frasier apologizes, saying he was thrown off guard. Frasier starts to tease Martin about it, and Martin warns him not to push it.
Pete, lock up your daughter. Well, not daughters, but grandmas. Lock up your grandmas.
On Frasier's show, he takes a call from Marianne, who doesn't want her 22-year-old daughter sharing a bed with a boyfriend when they visit.
We have Marianne on line 4. She's concerned about her daughter.
Hello, Marianne. I'm listening.
Kids, you can't live with them. You can't shove them back in the womb.
Fun fact. Do we know that Marianne is another fun Pacific Northwest cameo?
Really? Look at you with the facts.
Oh yeah. So Marianne is voiced by Piper Laurie, who plays Catherine Martell on Twin Peaks, which also takes place in Washington State, just outside of Seattle. So love that.
Piper Laurie also makes another appearance in Frasier in season 6. She's Dr. Nora's mother.
You're right. Oh wow.
Now going back, like I do believe that there are some parents who probably do have issues with their adult child bringing like, right? Is that have you
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
My parents like absolutely would never be okay with that.
really? I wouldn't have
Oh
an issue.
yeah.
I wouldn't.
No,
I mean, don't go like knocking boots and waking everybody up, but
nope. Doesn't even matter. Like I'm pretty sure that the last person that I brought to my parents' home for a holiday, like I mean, we were over the age of 30 and my parents are like, "So here's your room." Like just really uh in no uncertain terms. And you know what? I'd be the same. I'm like just
oh,
we're eliminating all chance of thinking about
really?
that.
Oh,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
I
So,
would have like a guest room off to the side that
uh-huh.
no sound travels from that room.
Nope. Separate rooms or like one room with like twin beds that like are just like way on opposite walls like
Like,
that. Yeah. Just I don't even want to think about the possibility.
oh Lord.
So you're on Team Marianne with this
I'm
one.
team Marianne all the way. I just
And
yeah.
I'm being like, well, I know what you're doing when anyways, so just keep
That
it quiet.
doesn't mean you want to really have that mental picture or sound effects like nope. Nope.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, Frasier says that there's something more at play, believing Marianne has a problem thinking of her daughter as an adult. Frasier uses himself as an example and explains how Martin spending the night with Elaine unnerved him because he hadn't thought of a father as a man with sexual urges.
Don't want to think of any relative of mine in that way. Like
No.
I I just don't want to think about that. Like I know that my nephews came from somewhere, but I prefer to think it was a test tube. Like that's just a
Mm-hmm.
happier thought for me.
A stork,
Exactly.
a stork
A
delivered them.
stork. Yeah.
Once again, Frasier docs somebody else.
Yeah.
I know it's 2 for 1 on the doxing show here.
Jesus Christ, Frasier.
He's, you know what? Like, if this, obviously, if this weren't a sitcom and all of that, I mean, like, this is clearly like HIPAA violation adjacent.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like I know it's a radio call-in show, so you waive certain rights to privacy, but come on.
Yeah. No. But you know what's was that I was thinking like, do I have any instances where like maybe I walked in on a relative or something like that, and like I actually can recall something similar to what Frasier's gone through, but I can't say it because my mom listens to the show.
Yeah.
So
No,
I'm like,
that's funny. I don't know. I just I think it's like especially awkward in this circumstance because was is her name Elaine? Is that
Yep.
the Martin's okay. Elaine didn't even call into the show. That's the real thing of it, you know? Because if she had called in for advice, totally different circumstances. She
mhm.
didn't. So he dragged her in to this very public discussion that she never opted into. So I am
Yep.
mortified on Elaine's behalf.
So true.
Also, like, how self-serving of Frasier is this, you know? I mean, like, there's varying schools of thought in terms of like psychotherapy, but like I think one of the prevailing ones, especially in the 90s, was that your therapist, or you know, in Frasier's case, your radio call-in host who's proxying as a therapist,
Mm.
is a blank slate, and it's all about you and your issues. But Frasier cannot help but self-insert here, and I think anybody who really holds true to that kind of concept is like, what are you doing, it's just very, especially for the 90s, it's very against protocols.
Yeah. Well, none of the advice helps Marianne, who's off to break up her daughter and her boyfriend in the guest bedroom.
I love that she sticks to her truth.
Yeah, I like,
Yeah.
well, as Marianne rushes to the guest room with a bucket of ice.
Yes.
Can't say I wouldn't do the same.
She's like, voices.
It is a bit gauche to do that in someone else's house.
Yeah, definitely.
Frasier goes off the air and Knowles drops in to see Roz. He's quite smitten while Roz is less impressed. Noel has
Aw.
made Roz a spice rack. He leaves
Oh.
and Frasier points out that there's a spot for cumin.
Ooh.
Funny, because also, I mean, like, let's set aside what we've already noted about Noel. I appreciate the thoughtfulness because cumin is often disregarded in spice rack scenarios, and
That
it
is,
is a very critical ingredient to like a good barbecue. So he's just being thoughtful here.
Well, watching Noel made me think what I would like, and I like the fact that he like is giving gifts. I like that. That's nice because
Yeah.
he actually gives gifts a second time in the show too at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
Noel's
yeah,
a little
sneaking in.
okay. I mean, don't give me a spice rag. Like, give me something else.
Yeah, maybe not for Roz, but like if they talked about cooking or something, I think it's an excellent gift. It's
Exactly. Right.
thoughtful. It's also not like it doesn't insinuate anything,
Yeah.
creepy, like
It's a practical gift.
it's practical, it's thoughtful, and Roz has no ambiguity about how he felt about the date. So I'm Team Noel right now.
I like that. I
For
like
now. I'm
Well,
quantifying that with right now, but like so
yeah.
far he's doing things okay.
Exactly. And I think that that's perfect. Like he's confirming, he's checking in,
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. Noel's off to a good start.
Yeah.
The fact that he made it himself. I didn't know that Noel
Yeah.
was a woodworker.
He's got secret talents.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go. And some people like a man who can work with their hands. I'm team work with hands. So yeah, good. You have a hobby, you have a craft, you can build stuff. Good.
Yeah. He's got depth.
Yeah. Word, I could think of it. Depth. He does. He has depth.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for now, he's on a good track. For now.
Frasier arrives home. Daphne immediately leaves for her room, and Eddie leaves close behind her. Martin is furious that Frasier has talked about his private life on his radio show. Because of that, Elaine won't even talk to Martin anymore. Turns out Elaine and her friends listen to Frasier's show and have been calling her about it. What kind of friend does that? Like, you hear him on the show and you call up and you go, "Oh, you got
Oh,
like
I would do
you
it.
do that."
Yeah, I mean, like,
Girl,
this is early evidence of the phenomenon that's way more common now with parasocial relationships. I think it is no different than calling your friend because you see them tagged in someone's Instagram story or you see a TikTok that mentions them. Like, I think it is the same exact thing, but it's the 90s version. So, it is interesting though because I think in my own framing, I thought that was a really new phenomena, and it's not. So
Mm.
Yeah, this is just the consequence of Frasier's actions.
Oh yeah, foot in mouth again.
Mm-hmm.
except it's not because like I honestly I think he thought he was not in the wrong until like way later than he admitted it.
Yeah, you're right. Because
Yeah.
even his reaction was like, "Okay, Dad, I'll fix it. Like, I'll think of something and I'll fix it." See, I wouldn't have thought to quote fix it. I would have just been like, "I apologize,"
Yeah.
and
I apologize. I'll never do this again.
yeah,
Let me never ever mention your private life on the air. And then he just completely, goes the opposite way on that.
the other way.
Well, we get a good line from Martin here.
Hey, for your information, people of our generation think that sex is a private thing. And I still think that's a pretty healthy way of looking at it. Sex is something between you and the person you're doing it to.
I love it when he says sex is between you and the person you're doing it to.
Oh, amazing. Amazing.
Okay. Well, at least we know Marty puts in that good effort. So, chain.
If you take it that way, I took that as in a completely different way. But at least he's honest.
I think it was apropos for his generation. Like I think that generation views sex. You just do it.
That's fair.
But yeah, it does take a while for it to sink into Frasier that he'd done something wrong because he kept arguing that everything I said was flattering, everything I didn't like. He's trying to talk it up like I was flattering, I was nice about it, like all this other stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. It's not how you said, it's what you said, which you shouldn't have said.
Better to just smile and nod.
Yeah, so Frasier apologizes and says he'll fix the problem he caused. Martin says he won't hold his breath. At the radio station, a very dull, monotonous man is on the air, talking about how much he hates his voice. Frasier and Roz aren't listening and are pulling faces through the glass.
I love the fact that he patted in the arm.
Yeah.
I really love in this scene when Frasier is so clearly caught up in the jokes that he's doing with Roz that his only answer to the caller is just keep doing what you're doing. Like that is just such a like complete disregard for the question.
Yeah.
What? Like, way to phone it in, my guy.
Yeah, I've got here, when it comes time for Frasier to dole out his advice, he gives a stock standard platitude of keep doing what you're doing.
This is where it comes full circle with his advice for Elijah Wood at the beginning. I mean, that sounded kind of stock. This is worse.
Mm-hmm.
He's like 0 for 3 on his callers this episode.
Yes.
I feel like the advice he gave Marianne wasn't terrible, but she didn't listen to it.
Well, no, his advice for Marianne was only terrible because he inserted his own personal experiences in a
That's
totally
true.
inappropriate way. Like, the advice, sure, it's not about that. It's just like he just made a mess.
Well said.
Frasier then takes time to broadcast a message to Elaine. He apologizes for airing her personal life on the air and promises not to do it again after this time. He starts to play Moon River and invites Elaine to his apartment that night to have dinner with Martin.
Ugh.
Frasier signs off as for love, Doctor.
Yeah, that part was extremely cringe, but Moon River was actually a really good backing choice. I kind of liked it. For what I mean, like, disagree firmly with this course of action, but he could have picked a worse soundtrack.
I do like what he said, though, where he said, Marty cares about you. He misses you. Those are things that when you're dating, you want to hear that.
He validated things.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did, and especially when we see what happens right next. I mean, like, he really did kind of make the situation way worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he could have validated her feelings privately. Just saying.
Yeah, and he should have said, well, if you feel the way he feels, then you should come to my house. Like, it should have been, and you should just call him. Like, it should have just been.
Right. That's where he put his foot in his mouth in the worst way, because obviously it's a setup for the next scene, but wow. Like, come to my house. Like, I mean, let's not forget, this is the era of phone books where people's addresses were like pretty much public. So, yikes. Big yikes.
That someone would show up to his apartment after he said that. It didn't dawn on me.
Yeah. Wow. And then it happened.
He doxed himself.
He doxed himself.
Oh, yeah, like I said, 0 for 3 on these calls.
Oh, gosh.
I do think there's a bit of a continuity error because he's on his show and he says, come over tonight. But then later they say it's Saturday night. I don't think he does his show on Saturdays.
No.
Oh, that's worth investigating. Like, what is his air schedule? We know he doesn't typically have Christmas, so.
Yeah, I feel like it's Monday to Friday, 2 to 5.
That sounds about right. Because he does usually have weekends free. I mean, like, otherwise his social life would be not as rich as it is in the series. So I don't know. Good catch. Right. That might have been a continuity error for sure.
Good catch.
Well, that night, Frasier and Daphne are laying out a romantic dinner for 2. Martin enters wearing a suit and is nervous. He doesn't believe that Frasier's plan will work.
Well.
Yeah, I know. I'd have doubts too.
Yeah. Although, I mean, like, a roast, I mean, like, that sounds really nice. Like, I was watching that scene, I'm like, I bet that smells good.
Yes. I liked how it was a team effort. Everybody was trying to fix this, even though not every
Frasier's fault. Yeah, team clean up Frasier's mess.
Exactly.
The doorbell rings and Frasier opens the door to find a crowd of people standing outside. Turns out several people in his building, including his doorman, heard his show and have come to find out if Elaine turned up.
Dude, that's what you get when you dox yourself. Like,
yeah.
He basically extended an invitation. Like, hey, drama, it's right here at this time. Like, come on.
Everybody. That hallway was full of people.
Like, this is why reality television shows film months ahead of when they air. Because otherwise, people would show up at the scene of the drama just to rubberneck. So, yeah. Frasier's learning that lesson the hard way.
Yeah.
He is a celebrity. He should have known.
Yeah. He's a
people
celebrity,
like drama.
He's not a Bravo celebrity.
No, God. It takes years to get that way.
I'm pretty sure his ex-wife is a Bravo celebrity.
Yes.
Frasier tries to shoo them off when the elevator door opens and it's Elaine. He sees a crowd of people and immediately goes to leave. Frasier and Martin hop onto the elevator with Elaine, and Frasier goes to explain when Martin stops him. Martin takes over, putting Frasier in the corner facing the wall.
Elaine, please let me try to explain.
You've done enough.
Oh, Dad, please, what do you have in the mouth?
Frasier, over there.
Dad!
Turn around.
Nobody puts Frasier in a corner.
Except Martin, apparently.
Yeah. I mean, he deserved it. I mean, like, if you're in a
Yeah.
confined space and I mean, like, I'd make Frasier turn around too.
Now, I would have told him to put his hands over his ears. I would have said, turn around and put your earmuffs.
Yeah, exactly. Earmuffs.
Martin apologizes for what happened, but he thinks that he and Elaine have a pretty good thing going, and he would hate to lose it over one stupid thing. He wins her over, and she agrees to come back to have dinner with Martin.
Well, he also says he has warm toes.
Yeah. You know, I've got a note that just says Marty's toes.
Yes, I did too.
I've noticed his toes come up a lot in the show. Because
Somebody-
later on, they talk about how he's got hematoes.
Someone's into feet.
Oh, wow.
I don't think warm toes is a selling point. At least not in my book. Maybe.
Oh, no. I disagree. Warm toes, because, okay, think about it.
Oh, here we go.
I got a theory here. So of all the various parts of your body, your extremities are most likely to be very cold. If you are sharing a bed with somebody and you have really cold toes and you like brush up against them, that is so unpleasant. So
It takes. Yeah.
So if he has warm toes, he's just like, hey, like, this is a comfortable situation. So
I'm-
I don't know. I actually I see that as a point in his favor. It's weird, but it's not implausible.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
In the hallway outside Frasier's apartment, the crowd is still there. The elevator doors open to Martin and Elaine kissing, and the crowd ooh and ah over it. Frasier and Martin break up the crowd, and Martin and Elaine head inside.
No,
They got what they came for.
Well, before we move back to the apartment, let's think about that actual scene, like the acting of that, because the way that it is acted, it makes you believe that they went in an elevator, they went down, they went up, doors open. The reality is it's just a, and you it's just like one whole room and there's just this wall, but it was so believable. And the only moment that it kind of took it out for me was when Frasier says, "Oh, everybody go, go, go." And then somebody hits the elevator wall and the picture kind of like moves a little. And then you're like, "Oh yeah, this is just a set." But it was great acting with the elevator and the timing and when the doors slid open and people were turning. It was really well directed. Well directed.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do an elevator scene with multiple people. So I agree with that.
Because you're really not going anywhere. So you have to create intimacy and movement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a show like Frasier where I think it's not just the facial expressions and the tone of voice, but there is a lot of physical comedy on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And so the elevator is an interesting constraint.
Right, exactly. And I thought about that. I said, wow, like I wonder what that was like acting, because we have a couple of those elevator kind of moments throughout the show.
Yeah.
And it's funny how they like the elevator is a part of the show as well.
Yeah.
It's the hallway.
Yeah, I was just checking back that scene, but it's done really well because when they get to Elaine's floor, like it opens up and there's no one there. So they've like shot that without the people, and then they've gotten all the people back into the hallway so they could have it like reopen to the crowd again.
Right.
I thought that was so great. I'm like, wow, that's really great that I'm sure they didn't do it all in one take, but it looked like it.
It felt seamless. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Daphne joins Frasier in the hall and says they should give him their privacy. They wonder for a moment what two eligible single people could do on a Saturday night. Daphne relents. They'll do the laundry.
It's ironic, isn't it? My 63-year-old father with a bum hip is about to embark on a night of romance while the two of us, man and woman, both attractive and eligible in the prime of our lives, with nothing to do on a Saturday night.
The answer to our problems might be right under our noses.
Yes, Daphne, I think it is.
All right. You go claim the washing machines, I'll go get the laundry.
Amazing. Amazing. I think the best part about that joke is that if it had gone the direction that they tried to lead you down before the switch, Niles would have died on the spot.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He would have been heartbroken for ever.
I think that's like in his perception, that's an unforgivable offense.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, this is about the only time that they sort of hint at Daphne and Frasier in that way. And they
Yeah.
immediately shut it down.
They
Yes.
have to do a pivot though, because it would have been like the kind of mess that's like unrecoverable.
It would have been so messy, so messy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think
It
yeah.
would have been too easy for Frasier. It's just an easy reach because she's.
Yeah.
You know, I think Frasier likes to he likes to chase a little bit. So
Right.
yeah.
I agree, but also yeah, I mean like the fallout if that joke had gone the sort of softball approach, I think would have just been unrecoverable.
And it makes you think like, okay, they're just brother and sister. Like you could just see them as
Right.
brother.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the end credits has Noel leaving a present in Roz's booth. He sits in her chair, which he falls out of when Roz discovers him. He's got another present for her after one date. That's 2 presents.
Raz, what were you doing? Get all these gifts. Jeez, girl.
I mean, Roz is a true queen, so like I'm not surprised, but he needs to slow down because he's giving stage 5 clinger at this point.
Yeah. So that was the episode.
Yeah, that wasn't a bad one. It was a fun one. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's charming. I mean, like not Frasier, but everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, like Frasier really kind of put his foot in his mouth a lot, but.
And I like Marty, kind of showing that he's got some game, even though he's a
Marty
widow.
has more game than any of the other cranes.
Yeah. That is true.
I forgot to mention it earlier, but we get a bit more about Daphne's psychic powers. Apparently she transmits as well as receives.
I love this.
Even when she does the psychic talk, I do try to be like Frasier and like try to find it charming. So when she does the psychic thing, I'm like, oh, she's just manifesting. Okay, I got it.
Exactly.
Girl, I got you. She probably has like those crystals and stuff in her.
Oh yeah, she's a crystal girly for sure.
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, that was a good episode. Thank you for.
Yeah, I like it. Some classic Niles physical comedy.
Oh yeah.
Didn't get a lot of Niles in this episode. Could have did a little bit more of him, but that's okay.
I could always do with more.
Remember, this is season 1. Like
exactly.
Niles was like emergent as a fan favorite at this time. So yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like they probably didn't write him into a lot of the early episodes as strongly because no one like on the writing room like would have predicted his widespread appeal. So I mean, obviously we see so much more of him later in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. True. Thankfully.
Of course.
Yeah, so what have we got next time?
Episode 14.
Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah, Can't Buy Me Love.
Yeah.
I have feelings about that one.
Ooh. Can't wait to dive in. Would you like to give our listeners a preview of your
It's probably nothing controversial. I've just got feelings about Renata, the child being left with Frasier.
Oh, yes.
And I went down a rabbit hole of women who bring their kids to dates. So we could
okay. Sounds like next week's going to be a pretty rich conversation.
Absolutely. So stay tuned, listeners.
Yeah.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
See you then.
Bye.
But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Good night, Seattle. We love you.